Evening all, welcome. This is obviously a trigger warning video. So if anyone's got any questions or anything about this particular topic, please do put them in. Obviously we've got Nick. How are you?
Yes, good to be on the show. Yeah.
Brilliant. Nice office as well, by the way.
Yeah,
so please do like, comment, share, and subscribe if possible. So tonight we've got Kerry. She's obviously going to be discussing about borderline personality disorder, which not many know about that, and how abandonment issues and that connect. So, Kerry, kickstart with, to you, what is borderline personality disorder?
To me, personally, BPD is my best friend because it's part of who I am now, but I wasn't always that way. I used to think of it as my worst enemy because I didn't know what it was and how it affected me. But then through therapy and learning about it, I now know a bit more about BPD.
Okay. Then Nick, you're welcome to jump in at any point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one question is, how old were you when you were sort of diagnosed with it, and let's start with that. How was myself? I mean, I guess a shock.
When I was pregnant with Wyatt,
yeah,
and Wyatt's 2 at the moment, I went through a really bad patch. I had issues with my parents, issues with Adam, and I felt very much alone. And I sunk to the place where I didn't want to be here. And I remember going for a walk, and it was absolutely pouring down with rain, thinking, I want to end my life. I wasn't in a very good place at all. And the only thing I could think of was I had this little life inside of me that needed me. So purely for him, I dialed 111 and I said, I want to end my life, but I'm pregnant and so I need help. And the NHS were brilliant with me for the next, 2-3 days. I went through what felt like 1,000,001 questions. And at the end of it, after speaking to about 3 or 4 different people, they came out with a diagnosis of BPD. She just said, you fit the criteria for a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder. Do you know what it is? No, I don't. Not a clue what it is. She said, well, we need to learn about it. We'll send you some information to your email. And they did do. And by the way, you're going to need about 12 months of therapy we're recommending. But that therapy can't begin until after you've had the baby, which didn't help.
And
yeah. And the next day, I told Adam that I'd been diagnosed.
Well, that's telling people. Was that a hard process? And not just Adam, but I guess.
Telling Adam wasn't hard. It was telling my parents about the BPD, because through all that process, they obviously the 1,000,001 questions, or what felt like 1,000,001 questions. The psychiatrist that spoke to me, she was really, really lovely, said that why I've got BPD, why she thinks I fit the criteria for BPD. And one of them is abandonment issues, and that's what we're going to open up about.
Yes. So, the abandonment issues. Now, obviously, I know that a lot of us get abandoned and left isolated, alone. I know Nick does, you do, I do, probably everybody else does. But what's the difference between feeling alone and being left alone compared to feeling abandoned?
It's a hard one. You said you were going to be nice.
That is nice.
No, it's not. To me, being abandoned is obviously growing up. There was a lot of issues with my parents, and I'd never had a relationship with my mum. I still don't. And how do I say it? How do I say it without swearing?
Just swear.
Right, okay. So growing up, I had a really, really shitty childhood, and I had a really abusive, narcissistic mother. And the only person I really had was my dad when I wasn't around my nana. And when going through all these difficult things with my mum and dad, my nana was the one constant in my life. And then, obviously, she passed away a few years ago. But yeah, growing up, it was when my dad walked out and left me, I was on my own, and I felt like I was alone in the world. Nobody around me gave a fuck about me, basically. And the things that were said to me by my mother, I'm not going to repeat them. But to me, that's what triggered my abandonment issues. With anybody else, obviously, they're going to have their own reasons for that. And that's the only way to explain it.
So, Kerry, with you, I mean, there wasn't obviously one particular sort of instant. This was like, this abandonment was something you felt effectively all your life, or over obviously a long period of time. Like, I don't know how old you are, but 30 years or whatever, period of time. So, is that long sustained? Is that, or was it?
Obviously, on here, you've spoke about CPTSD, haven't you?
Yes.
Where it's constant thing, where it's a constant pattern of abuse.
Yeah.
Well, BPD is obviously is worse than that. So the pattern of abuse that I went through as a child to trigger the BPD would be a lot more intense than CPTSD.
Right.
So, because obviously BPD is like an umbrella term for basically every single mental health problem in the world. It's the worst thing you can be diagnosed with.
And with something like BPD, if you if you're away from the things that trigger it or caused it, is it easier to manage than your than if you're exposed to it? Does that make sense? So if I guess certain things have caused it or triggered it, and does that make sense?
Obviously, there are ways to manage it, but my psychiatrist said to me that I can't have medication that would normally be given to other BPD sufferers because I've got a history of attempting with tablets. They won't give me tablets because otherwise, if I do go down that dark path again, those things would kill me. And that's what they don't want to do. So I've basically had to learn to manage it myself for a few months, and then therapy kicked in, and I've had 2 different types of therapy up to now, which have taught me quite a few strategies that I'm implementing. But it doesn't stop the fact that I have 5 personalities and I regularly flick, and I can't control the flicking. I mean, I know when I'm going to flick, and I don't know how to explain it. I can sort of feel like what sort of personality is going to come out, but then that's not all the time. Sometimes I flick personalities and I'm completely unaware that I flicked.
Right.
But Adam's picked up on quite a few things, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
So that's why you get away with saying you've got 5 wives.
So I was going to say that, like, Adam, you aware when like Kerry changes and does different personality in that sense?
First, no, I didn't, and I used to hate it. I used to hate when I seen all these different personalities. But you get used to it. And can I say that I've accepted, like, I'm used to it? I don't think I'm used to it. I don't think I'll ever be used to it. But it's... I'm going to say this, but it's being patient. And I'm not patient whatsoever. So it's... Time will tell. Time will tell. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Patience, I think, is... I mean, I think that's a... I think a lot of these, these things, not just like Adam being patient, but I think even Kerry yourself, you probably think you've got to be patient with yourself, isn't it? Because usually I think sometimes get frustrated with ourselves, other people being patient with you, but I
don't have patience with myself. I don't. There was an incident about 3 weeks ago. I was volunteering, and there was an incident at my volunteering, and I could feel myself wanting to flick to, we call it my psycho side, because that is the worst personality that I have. And it's the personality that I can only, if I'm going to flick to that personality, I need to be at home. Because if I'm out and about and I flick to that personality, honestly, I think I would probably end up in the police cells. I do. I really do think I would end up within police cells. And I could feel myself wanting to flick. I was that angry and just wanted to lash out. I walked away from the situation. I came home. And as soon as I closed the door and locked it, I fell to the ground and in tears because I knew that I had walked away and I controlled it.
Sure.
I don't know how I did it, but I controlled it to the point where I fell to the ground in tears.
Well, that's definitely something to be proud, proud of.
And Adam was still out with the kids at this point, so I literally had to compose myself the best way I could. And while I was in the house,
it says it doesn't sound obvious, but I guess is it stress? If you triggers it often. If you feel stressed about something, is that? I guess most.
Yeah, stress can trigger it. Yeah. And there's daily stresses at home with 2 teenagers and a toddler. There's daily stresses, and in my head, I can hear the voices in my head, and sometimes I laugh at what's said in my head, and then Adam will ask me what I'm laughing at, and I'm like, I can't repeat what's just been said in my head.
So one question I had is, obviously you said earlier, abandonment issues to large part caused or led to, triggered, contributed to the BPD. Do you still, and you've had therapy to sort of deal with those abandonment issues. Do you still, I guess you're living with BPD now, but do you still have those abandonment issues in the sense that,
So going back to the incident that happened with my volunteering, in my head, it was everyone that I volunteered with, worked alongside, because of the level of conversations that were going on and the fact that we all attended a mental health group together and we opened up about our issues together, I counted them as friends.
Sure.
And I thought that was with me, them too, that I was their friend. But when this happened, it was every single one of them blanked me.
Right.
And not one person reached out and asked, Kerry, are you all right? So the abandonment issues were there again. It was nobody gives a fuck. No one gives a fuck. Nobody cares about me. Nobody wanted me there. I wasn't wanted there. I didn't belong there. And these were the voices that were in my head. It was, I didn't belong there. I wasn't wanted there. Nobody gives a fuck, basically. And I had dealt with that, and it put me through a really depressive state. And I went through what is, the actual term for it is a BPD, manic. Hang on a minute.
Episode or
manic depression,
something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot the name for the actual day, but it was a depressive period. Basically, it took me about 2 weeks to get out of it.
Right.
To the point where I could turn around and say, I don't give a fuck if they didn't care. You know?
Yeah.
I've got a husband and a family that care about me. I don't give a fuck about anybody else.
Was it on the Monday that it happened?
No, Sunday, because I was watching football and I'd been to town. And that was the first time that I'd actually ventured out the house on my own.
It happened on Wednesday. No, I was just going off topic because I'm like, well, it's clearly Manic Monday, but okay.
No, it wasn't a Monday. It was a Sunday.
So a little black humour.
So, let's talk about the situation when your dad left.
Mm-hmm. Which time?
Anytime.
Okay.
So, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, you name it, how did that impact you? And when he left, did you think you was at fault?
Yeah. Every single time my dad left, it was automatically, what have I done? What have I done to make him leave? It's my fault that I'm now on my own. And those types of feelings that we probably all were aware of. And that happened every single time. And obviously when I tried to speak to my mum, all I got was, it's your fault, you're causing these issues. And everything was directed, it was my fault. Well, obviously through therapy, I now know that she was at fault, not me. It wasn't, their arguments weren't my fault, it was their fault. And it's not my problem, she was a shit mum.
Did you did you talk to your? And you just said you mentioned talk to your mum. Did you talk to your dad, or in that way, or was it?
At that point, I wasn't able to speak to my dad.
Sure.
They had a lot of issues around about that point.
Sure.
And there was times where I wanted to speak to my dad, and I physically break down in tears because I wanted to speak to my dad, but I wasn't able to have that connection. Even on the phone, it was my mum was around or my granddad was around, so I was never able to have a one-on-one conversation. Even when I went down to Liverpool to go and see my dad, it was never a point where I could actually have my dad on a one-on-one basis. There was always somebody else around. So having them, Dad, I need to talk to you, just you and me, and opening up was never a capability. And it was quite a long length of time I was in that situation. I had nobody to talk to. Even at school, the school counsellor would pull me in and be like, you've got a safe space now, Kerry, speak to me. And I'd turn around and say, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to my dad. The only person I want to talk to is not available for me. And it went like that for quite a while. And
as you've got older, and obviously your life's changed. I mean, how important is it? I don't know to deal with your abandonment issues. Is it to sort of speak to your mother or father? Is that part of the process, or is that something that doesn't make any difference with you?
Going through therapy, they taught me a lot of things, and obviously going through therapy taught me obviously that everything that happened in my childhood wasn't my fault. All the problems, it was their fault. And it took me 6 months of therapy to get to the point where I can say, it wasn't my fault. It's not my fault. She was a shit mum. And when I have spoke to my parents, I've said to them, it wasn't my fault. You're a shit parent. You weren't taught how to be parents properly. That's not my fault. But you two have caused my issues. And that was a self-empowerment, because I sort of empowered myself, took that bit of power away from them. And I guess felt brilliant.
You must have needed to say that since you were, however young it was when we first experienced those feelings, when you were young and you didn't have you were too young and you weren't, didn't know how to say those words. So to finally get to the point where you could say that and say, look, this is, you know what I mean?
And obviously during therapy, my last session, actually, she got me to close my eyes and imagine that my younger self was stood in front of me. What would I want to tell myself? So, and obviously in an ideal world, if I could go back in time and tell myself this, I probably wouldn't have had the issues now, but obviously I can't. And I told myself exactly that. It's not your fault they're shit parents. You've done nothing wrong. You're supposed to be the child learning off them. You've done nothing wrong. And I broke down in tears.
Yeah, no,
A lot of crying has happened.
I think crying's an important part of the healing process, isn't it?
Yeah.
How old were you, Kerry? Like when you talk about when you're a young girl, you know, I mean, how young are we talking? Like, you know, teens, young teens,
when
teens?
I imagine myself stood in front of me, I saw myself and I was around about 8, 9.
Quite young, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, that's like the first memories I have round about the age 8.
Yeah, that is young.
Yeah.
So Adam, you've known Kerry like a long time.
Too long.
So
Excuse me.
Was you know were you, do you think you were were you aware of these things, you know, I mean, because her sort of diagnosis relatively recently, but obviously were you aware of, you know, were you deep down, were you aware, you know, of you know, these things, you know, these things going on and the challenges that Kerry is facing? How was you aware of what was happening? You know, to when she had diagnosis came, were you shocked? Were you like, actually, this makes sense? You know, let's explain. You know, wasn't it?
She never told me from the get-go.
Sure.
She never. But she told me about all the mistreating she had. But obviously, I'm still putting it on the record. Obviously, Kerry doesn't believe me, but I'm putting it on the record that the abandonment issues, yes, her parents caused that, but I was part of that problem as well after the few years, because obviously I used to go out and abandon her, abandon the kids, to go out drinking.
Sure.
So that was my fault, because I used the fear of becoming a parent for the first time through drink, and I didn't think about her needs. So that was my fault. So I think the only way I could do that is, yeah, here I am.
Sure.
Stuck.
Sure. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. It's one of those. I think fear of being abandoned. It's probably a common insecurity or fear that nearly everyone has. You know, I think I heard somewhere that babies are born with only a couple of fears. You know, and one of them is, you know, one they learn when they're quite young is that fear of abandonment, because they're so dependent, completely dependent. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's understandable that, you know, if you go through something as traumatic as you did.
Absolutely. So, did you feel like you achieved anything besides this empowerment when you gain that confidence to put the blame on them?
Other than making myself smile and making myself feel like, you know, I'm an adult now, I can obviously take control of my own life. That's about it, because I'm still on the healing journey, and obviously BPD is something that I'll never truly heal from.
No.
It is going to be a lifelong thing now. I mean, statistically, I'm already over the age of that most people with BPD survive.
All right.
Because most people that are diagnosed with BPD are dead by the time they're 30.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I know that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm, in a sense, I'm lucky, because I was already over that age anyway when I was diagnosed. But it hasn't driven me to the point where I've ended my life. I've had the thoughts. And one of the things of BPD is the thoughts are there every single day. So when I wake up in the morning, it's, am I going to kill myself today? How am I going to kill myself today? And that happened for a long time. Even when I was out and about, it was, shall I throw myself in front of that car? Just little thoughts like that. And that would happen all the time.
Sure.
And unfortunately, it happens even when I'm having a really good day. And I will confess to when Nick and Noah was up here visiting, yeah, the thoughts were in my head when we weren't out and about and anything like that. The thoughts were in my head how to kill myself. Even on Wyatt's first birthday weekend, I was thinking about killing myself. And unfortunately, the thoughts are probably going to always be there.
Do you think you're... Is it, I guess, it's spotting those thoughts, but then it's how you deal, and then it's, and then it's like how you cope with them, isn't it? So it's sort of two things, isn't it? Sort of catching those thoughts early on.
Yeah, so obviously now I've learned that, unfortunately, the daily suicidal thoughts, they are a part of my BPD, and I've accepted that is a thought. But then there's been times when the thoughts of them daily thoughts haven't been there for a while. And I went through about 2 and a bit months of not having those thoughts. And I thought, well, yeah, this is brilliant. That means I'm getting better.
Sure.
But then obviously incidents happened and the thoughts come back.
Yeah.
But I know that I can, in a sense, switch them off if I'd moved to a place where I think I don't need to think about ending my life.
Yeah.
I know I can do that, and I have the ability to do that. And currently, it's been about a week since I've not had those thoughts. So
that's good.
I'm in an okay place at the moment.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
I think that calms up your nerves, doesn't it? I mean, I can laugh.
I don't worry. I ain't got time for that.
I can laugh about the fact that I want to kill myself. I can laugh about it because I know that's my BPD. Other people probably don't see it that way.
I was going to say, they say, like humor and the ability to laugh at things, and often it's quite dark humor, but that's our way of coping. Often with
I laugh at myself because I know for a fact, that I am me, and the way I am because of the shit I've been through in the past.
Sure.
That's why I put on the comments last week. I'm unique because I'm the only one that's been through what I've been through. I'm unique.
So, you're saying you're unique. Yeah. So, through all these thoughts, what strategies do you implement when you have these thoughts? What implement do you implement for you without using the kids?
That's just stop shopping. Unfortunately,
that's a way of coping. Yeah. Or is that because it distracts you, or why is it? What is it about shopping? Is it just a distraction thing, or the thing? Why?
So I can pick my phone up and I can go on whatever website I want and look at just about anything I want. Yeah. And in a sense, it is a distraction technique. It's way past shopping therapy. It's, what I'm going to say is a borderline addiction is my shopping now.
Sure. Fucking finally.
It's a borderline addiction now, my shopping. It's a daily thing where even if I've been out and we've had a few hours where we've been out shopping, I'm going to come home and I say to Adam, I'm knackered. Within 10-15 minutes, I'm back on my phone shopping.
Really? Yeah. That's
an addiction.
Yeah, that's another show. Yeah.
Thank you.
It is. It's a borderline addiction.
That's on record, ladies and gentlemen, which won't get deleted ever.
No.
Shopping.
You can use that against the rest of my life.
I don't use anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, okay, I'll openly admit it. Yeah, yes, I have a shopping addiction. Okay.
You're the witness, ladies and gentlemen. You're the witness.
I was talking. you know, and obviously another part of my BPD is the impulsive side. So even though in my head I know that I probably shouldn't buy something, I'll buy it anyway just because it puts a smile on my face and it annoys Adam.
And
Maybe that's why we've got so many cats.
shopping for cats. It's a tricky one. I guess it's good that it's helping you cope, but obviously, yes, it's probably not the best way of doing it, I guess.
Always alternatives. Always alternatives.
Well, one question I had with something like BPD, I guess some people may not have heard of it, or some people have heard of it, don't understand what it is. Do you think the biggest issue, if say, I don't know, you talk about someone who doesn't really know much about it, is that people haven't heard of it at all, or that they misunderstand completely what it means?
So BPD in the media is portrayed as you're a monster. So that's generally the first thought of people who hear the words BPD. They think automatically you're a monster. And I suppose, in a sense, I do have this monster side of me. But it is only one personality. And I can, to a certain degree, I can control that coming out. It's the other four that I flick between.
Sure.
I mean, I have one particular personality that's really, really annoying, and I will do anything and everything to annoy Adam as much as possible.
Sure.
I think he likes that side though. But yeah. So yeah, when I meet somebody who doesn't know what BPD is, and I tell them I've got BPD, that's generally the first thought I get is you're a monster.
Sure. Total misunderstanding of.
I'm not a monster.
Yeah. No. Like you're saying, media sometimes, complete misunderstanding from the.
Can I?
No.
Yeah.
Jeez.
One cat? One? We've got 7.
Yes, I can bear witness to that. Yeah.
We actually had 8 when you was here.
Did you?
One passed away.
Wow, yeah.
One passed away sadly last year. So.
Yeah, they're lovely. Yeah, no, I love cats. I was quite immersed in cats. Yeah.
I do love my cats.
Certainly do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, back to the abandonment issues. Did you feel worse or the same? And obviously, this is a trigger to everyone as well. Was it the same pain or was it worse from the abandonment from your dad compared to your nana's passing?
Well, when my nana passed away, that's when it hit me really, really hard.
It did.
I mean, I know that my nana didn't abandon me when she died. Unfortunately, nobody can stay alive forever. And I know that. And even though we knew she was ill and she didn't have long left, it still hit hard. And you can probably remember that night.
I do.
I came home, I downed a full bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Ended up throwing up. And things just went down from then. To the point where obviously I attempted to end my life on the kitchen floor and Adam stopped me. Yeah. And from then it was, I don't know, it was just, things were up and down, and I just wasn't myself for a while. But I think that's just the grieving process. So I mean, I know for a fact I wasn't abandoned by my nana. Being abandoned by my dad hurt more.
Okay.
Because he knew of the abuse that I got from my mum. he knew of the shit that going on in that house on a daily basis, and he still chose to leave and leave me there. And that's something I've never spoken to him about, was about why he left and chose to leave me there. You know, he could have took me with him.
Would you though?
What?
Would you talk to him about it?
It's not something I've ever spoken to him about. I don't really want to bring up the past.
Okay.
Things at the moment are okay without dragging up the past.
Yeah.
I guess that's the thing. I think sometimes, you know, addressing the past and facing things to find out answers can be a part of healing process. But at the same time, sometimes if you move on, going back and dragging it all up, is it a good thing for your mental health? You know, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I think it's, you know, sometimes
it is. It's one of them. It's do I bring up the past and risk triggering myself and putting myself in that bad place again? Or do I just carry on as things are at the moment? Yes, all right, I've got unanswered questions there, but I know that I'm in a better place now.
Yeah.
And I know that obviously now it's... the only way I can explain it is, obviously I've got to heal myself. And I know that healing journey is going to take time. And I know that when I do flick to that personality, I am essentially a child with adult money. And I can go and basically have whatever I want that adult money can buy.
Okay, that's interesting.
It happened when we was in Manchester.
It did.
You know, I just wandered off and I, like that, spent money on chocolate just because I could. And that was me. I'd flicked personalities and thought, you know, I want some chocolate. I don't have to ask for it because I've got adult money.
Well, going back to this healing, is it you don't want to bring up the past, or is it you want to? I don't know, because I've noticed you're still holding on to that bit of resentment, and I believe from my experience is the only way you can forgive yourself is, do you let go of that experience and move on, or do you let it out? But either way, that's healing. Because obviously what other people think of you has got nothing to do with you.
No, I think the resentment, the fact that I have BPD and there's going to be people out there who are going to judge me as a monster because that's the stereotype around BPD.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I have this label and I don't make it known openly that I have it. If I meet somebody new in life, I don't say I've got BPD in the first sentence to them. I don't. I get to know them, and then after a while, when I can trust them a little bit, that's when I tell them about the BPD, and that's how I've always done it.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that the label's there, and that's a part of me, and what the BPD and how the BPD affects me. That's why I'll always have that resentment from my parents, because at the end of the day, they triggered it. You know, my mum with her narcissistic, abusive, being a shit mum, and my dad for walking out on me on more than one occasion. You know, I mean, I can remember, and it's going to sound like I've read this out of a textbook. It's not. You know, that's what happened to me. I remember lying there and hearing my mum and dad screaming at each other downstairs, doors banging, glass being smashed, and then silence, and going downstairs the next morning and dad wasn't there, and dad didn't come home from work that night. My dad had gone to my uncle's house or his brother's house. Walking from my mum and dad's house where I lived, an hour and a half to where my uncle lived, through busy roads, sometimes in the rain, so I could spend some time with my dad. And obviously I didn't get a long time because it was such a long journey, and my dad didn't have a car at that point, so we couldn't be driven. So yeah. There's always going to be that bit of resentment, because end of the day, no child should have to go through that. I'm always going to resent my parents for putting me through that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that, that's, I think anyone going through that would have abandonment issues. I mean, I think that's totally understandable. It's, it's not hard to sort of understand.
Yeah, it has been hard. I mean, there's certain things that I told my therapist and my psychiatrist, but I haven't spoke to Adam about them. I've not opened up about everything that I went through.
I think it's it's interesting. We said something earlier, and I think Adam said it. Realistically, with a lot of these conditions, and obviously including the BPD, there's no quick, these things, no quick fix. And realistically, it's an ongoing journey. You get better at managing it, and maybe you'll get triggered less often. But effectively, this is sort of, like you said, it's a part of you. And I think a lot of these.
Yeah, no, there is no fix to it. It is just a case of learning to manage me, learning to manage the triggers, and learning to manage the flicking of personalities. That's the hardest bit, I think, is learning to control the flicking. Whether I will learn to control it or not, time will tell.
So, have you come to some sort of solution when it comes to forgiveness from this experience?
I don't think I'll ever forgive my parents.
Okay. Forgive yourself?
I've got nothing to forgive myself for.
Okay.
Because I know that my BPD isn't my fault.
Mm-hmm.
My BPD is a result of trauma and abandonment issues in my past. And unfortunately, I can't go back and erase the past.
Well, with Adam asked you can about forgiveness, and you said you can't forgive your parents. Can you? Is there something about acceptance? So maybe you can't forgive them, but get the point where you can accept what's happened has happened, and you can't change that.
Yeah.
Well, because forgiveness and acceptance are two things.
Like I've just said, I know that, and I know why I've got BPD.
Sure.
I know what caused the BPD. I don't 100% know how it affects me, because I'm still learning about my BPD, but I know a lot about it and how it affects me and how to manage it to a certain degree. So yeah, I do accept I've got BPD. It is a part of me. I accept the fact that I had a shitty childhood and I had shitty parents, but that wasn't my fault. So yeah, I've accepted it, but I know I'll never forgive them.
And if someone was watching this show who, say, it could relate to whether it's abandonment issues or coping with BPD or something similar, I'm not saying you advocate shopping all the time, but is there but genuinely, is there something, if if there's something you could, and they were struggling to cope, is there something you would suggest, that's worked for you otherwise in a wider way of understanding?
Well, obviously, because mental health is not a one size fits all,
sure.
The treatments and strategies is not a one size fits all.
Sure.
It's find a strategy that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
So with me, music and shopping helps distract my mind from the voices. The voices are always going to be there because they are my other personalities talking to me in my head. And I'll regularly have arguments with myself in my head and talk to myself out loud because I'm talking to my other personalities. But that's me. So I also like colouring. I do like obviously watching television and distracting myself on like flicking through TikTok, flicking through what's on television.
Sure.
So lots of distraction techniques, distracting
yeah.
yourself from the thoughts in your head,
Okay.
calming music, things like that. But find a strategy that works for you, because unfortunately it's not a one size fits all. You've got to find what works for you.
Yeah.
And I found what works for me, even though it's annoying to Adam. But if you are diagnosed with BPD, it's not the end of the world. You're not a monster. You are just you. And with time and therapy and people around you that understand you, you can manage it. It's going to be a long journey, but it's a good journey, because when you do get to the good points, you can laugh at yourself like I have been doing tonight.
Sure.
I can laugh at myself now.
There you go.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's important to be able to do that, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what to say now.
I just like to say a point about, when we came up, I think you said you're a bit stressed or anxiety about that. And I was aware that I didn't want me and Noah to be an extra stress, us coming up. But it's funny because obviously Noah, didn't, he had a lovely time and he didn't sense or pick up on anything. And I think, kids are quite often they are quite sensitive and attuned to picking up, emotions, but he didn't, didn't pick up anything, or about, your behavior or how you're feeling. So I think that's, that's a good sign, that.
Yeah. No, well, that's another thing with BPD is when I do feel like I'm getting stressed or my emotions are getting a bit too heavy, I basically I close my eyes and I'm going to say it, and it might trigger somebody. Obviously, I have a history of self-harming, and I will just maybe dig my nail into my skin and I'll tell myself to switch them off.
Sure.
And I can switch my feelings off essentially and go numb.
Sure.
And I can do that for a while, where I can turn my feelings off for anything. Sure. And unfortunately, the worstest point was because of what had happened. I can't remember the full ins and out and anything like that, but I did actually turn my feelings off for my kids, to the point where I looked at my kids and I didn't feel a thing for them.
Right.
But that's only happened once. But I regularly look at Adam and I can turn my feelings off for him like that.
On that note, we're going to end. There's no show next week, guys. No show, so we're back in 2 weeks. I know Nick is on that. Ashley's back. So, yeah, please share.
Before we go, I just want to say, genuinely, Kerry, I do admire you for being so honest and sharing this, because I think it's hard to talk about these things, and that's when so many people struggle to share, any mental health challenges or conditions, even if they're a bit stressed, I'm very, relatively minor, and genuinely, I just want to say and recognise, I really respect you, doing the show and sharing with honest.
I think my greatest thing is, once I found out about the BPD, I basically told myself I needed to know as much as possible in order to help myself. And that's why I basically went on a researching journey about it, and then a healing journey. And I'm still on that healing journey. And it is like a roller coaster. BPD to me is now my best friend, but it was at one point, it was my worst nightmare. And
that's
it is one of them. I can share it because I know that by telling things about me, I might be able to help one other person.
Yeah, that's him.
So yeah, if that's for you, get in touch. So on that note, we're gonna leave because Clips will be uploaded all throughout the weekend, so look out for them.
We're going shopping tomorrow.
Yeah. So on that note, thanks for coming on, Nick. Brilliant as always. Everyone get this shared, subscribe as well because we're almost at that 1,000 mark. And yeah, let's do this. So,
Bye.
see you later.
Bye.